They laughed at him when he walked past. Not because he had done anything wrong, but because he had nothing. No money. No connections. No future, at least, that's what everyone believed. But what none of them knew was that one quiet decision he made late one night would eventually force every single one of them to remember his name. This is the story of a man the world ignored until it was too late. His name was Daniel Carter. He grew up in a small, forgotten neighborhood on the edge of the city. The kind of place people only noticed when something went wrong. Old houses, cracked sidewalks, and dreams that never seemed to make it past childhood. Daniel lived with his mother in a one-bedroom apartment above a closed-down grocery store. The elevator never worked. The heat barely did. His father left when Daniel was 7. No goodbye. No explanation. Just a silence that never really went away. From that moment on, life became about survival. At school, Daniel learned very quickly where he stood. His clothes were always a size too big, donated. His shoes were always worn, reused. And his lunch, most days, didn't exist. Kids noticed. Kids always notice. They whispered when he walked into class. They laughed when the teacher asked for field trip money. And they avoided sitting next to him. Like poverty was contagious. Daniel never fought back. He never argued. He just lowered his head and stayed quiet. Because being invisible hurt less than being laughed at. His mother, Elena, worked 2 jobs. One during the day at a dry cleaner. Another at night cleaning office buildings downtown. Daniel rarely saw her awake. But every morning, no matter how tired she was, she left a note on the kitchen table. I believe in you. You're meant for more. Those words became the only thing Daniel owned. That no one could take from him. Still, belief didn't pay bills. Some nights, Daniel lay in bed listening to his mother cry softly in the dark, thinking he was asleep. That sound stayed with him. When Daniel turned 16, he decided to help. He applied for a job at a local convenience store. The manager barely looked at his application. He glanced at Daniel's clothes, his worn shoes, his nervous posture, and said, "We're not hiring." But 10 minutes later, Daniel watched another kid walk in, better dressed, confident, and walk out with an interview date. That was the day Daniel learned a painful truth. Hard work alone wasn't enough. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. The city lights flickered through the cracked window. The sounds of traffic echoed below. He stared at the ceiling, replaying every insult, every rejection, every laugh. And then, he did something he had never done before. He got out of bed. He walked to the old second-hand laptop his mother had found years earlier. It was slow. It overheated. Half the keys didn't work. But it turned on. And that was enough. Daniel typed a single question into the search bar. How do people escape poverty? He didn't know what he was looking for. He just knew he couldn't stay where he was. As the screen loaded, Daniel made a promise to himself. A promise he didn't say out loud. A promise no one else heard. No matter how long it takes, I will never live like this again. And without realizing it, Daniel had just taken the first step toward a future that would shock everyone who ever doubted him. Daniel didn't sleep that night. He read everything he could find. Articles, forums, old blog posts written by strangers who sounded like they had once been just as lost as he was. Some talked about business. Others talked about skills. Coding, writing, design, marketing. But one idea kept appearing again and again. Learning something valuable. And offering it to the world. Not begging. Not borrowing. Not waiting to be chosen. Building. For the first time in his life, Daniel felt something unfamiliar. Possibility. From that night on, Daniel followed a routine. School during the day. Homework in the evening. Learning at night. While the city slept, Daniel studied. Free courses. YouTube tutorials. PDFs shared by strangers head never meet. His eyes burned. His back ached. But for the first time, the exhaustion felt meaningful. This wasn't survival. This was preparation. One afternoon, Daniel mentioned his late nights to a teacher. Mr. Harris was old school. Strict. Practical. When Daniel explained he was learning online skills, Mr. Harris shook his head. That stuff rarely works, he said. People like us need stable jobs. The words stung more than Daniel expected. People like us. Daniel nodded politely. But inside, something hardened. Months passed. Daniel built small projects no one saw. Failed more times than he could count. Then, one night, an email arrived. A stranger had found his work online. They needed help. Simple help. Paid help. The amount wasn't big. But when Daniel saw the number, his hands trembled. It was the first money he had ever earned with his mind. Not charity. Not sympathy. Skill. Daniel showed his mother the payment confirmation. Elena stared at the screen in disbelief. You did this? She asked softly. Daniel nodded. She smiled. Then cried. That night, for the first time in years, there was laughter in their apartment. Hope had quietly moved in. Word travels fast in small neighborhoods. A former classmate named Marcus reached out. Marcus was everything Daniel wasn't. Confident. Charismatic. Well-connected. He praised Daniel's progress. Asked questions. Offered encouragement. We should work together, Marcus said. I know people. Daniel hesitated. But loneliness has a way of lowering your guard. And Daniel had never had an ally before. They met at a small cafe. Marcus talked big. Opportunities. Growth. Fast money. Daniel listened. It felt unreal. Like being invited into a world that had always been locked. Marcus suggested combining skills. Daniel would do the work. Marcus would handle clients. Trust me, Marcus said. We'll both win. Daniel agreed. Not knowing that trust would soon become his greatest mistake. Weeks passed. Work increased. Payments came in. But Daniel noticed something strange. Marcus controlled the conversations. The accounts. The money. I'll send your share later, Marcus always said. Daniel told himself not to overthink it. After all, this was more progress than had ever known. But deep down, a quiet voice whispered, Be careful. Daniel ignored it. And that decision would soon cost him more than money. An email arrived on a Tuesday morning. Short. Cold. Professional. We've decided to move forward without your services. Daniel read it 3 times. Confused. He hadn't done anything wrong. The work had been delivered. On time. His phone buzzed. A message from Marcus. Don't worry about it. I handled it. Daniel's stomach tightened. Daniel logged into the shared account. Or tried to. The password had been changed. His heart raced. He called Marcus. No answer. Again. No answer. Hours later, Daniel discovered the truth. Marcus had cut him out. Taken the clients. Taken the money. And rewritten the story. Daniel was no longer a partner. He was a liability. The worst part wasn't the loss. It was the messages. Clients he had worked for. Accusing him of being unprofessional. Lazy. Dishonest. Marcus had blamed everything on him. Online, Daniel's name was quietly destroyed. He tried to explain. No one listened. In a world that barely noticed him before, he had somehow become invisible again. Bills piled up. His mother stopped asking questions. And that hurt more than any argument. The laptop broke. Completely this time. Daniel sat on his bed one night, staring at the dark screen. Everything he had built. Gone. For the first time in years. He felt truly powerless. Daniel thought about quitting. About accepting that this was all life had for him. about finding any job, no matter how small, just to survive. He remembered every laugh, every rejection. Maybe they were right. Maybe some people really weren't meant to rise. The thought settled heavy in his chest. That night, Elena sat beside him. She didn't lecture. She didn't offer solutions. She simply said, "I don't care if we're rich. I care that you don't give up on yourself." Daniel looked at her. For the first time, he admitted the truth. "I'm scared," he whispered. She nodded. "So was I," she said. Every single day. After she went to bed, Daniel stayed awake. Not searching this time. Thinking. About everything he'd learned. Everything he'd lost. About trust. About control. Slowly, a realization formed. He hadn't failed because he lacked skill. He failed because he gave away ownership. And this time, he wouldn't make the same mistake twice. As the sun began to rise, Daniel made another quiet decision. This one, far more dangerous than the first. Because this time, there would be no one to blame but himself. Daniel sold what little he owned. Old books. A jacket he liked. Anything that wasn't essential. He borrowed a neighbor's outdated laptop during the day. And returned it every night. No announcements. No promises. Just quiet work. This time, Daniel did everything differently. No partners. No shortcuts. No shared control. Only ownership. Daniel rebuilt his skills from memory. He documented everything. Created systems. Protected access. He chose clients carefully. Contracts first. Payment up front. It was slower. But it was real. And slowly, the work spoke for itself. Clients stayed. Referrals followed. Daniel was no longer chasing opportunity. Opportunity was finding him. One evening, Daniel received a message. A large firm had found his portfolio. They wanted a long-term contract. The number attached made him sit down. This wasn't survival money. This was freedom. When the first payment arrived, Daniel didn't celebrate. He exhaled. For the first time in his life, he wasn't afraid of tomorrow. Months later, Daniel attended a local networking event. He almost didn't go. Until he saw Marcus. Same confidence. Same smile. But tired eyes. Marcus recognized him instantly. Shock flickered across his face. "Daniel," he said. "I heard you're doing well." Daniel nodded. Nothing more. Marcus followed him outside. Apologized. Blamed pressure. Fear. Mistakes. He asked for another chance. Daniel listened. Calm. Then said quietly, "You didn't just take money. You took time. And I can't get that back." Daniel wished him well. And walked away. Closure doesn't always come with anger. Sometimes it comes with peace. Daniel moved his mother into a better apartment. Nothing flashy. Just warm. Safe. He kept his routine simple. Work. Health. Growth. No need to prove anything. The people who once laughed now watched quietly. But Daniel wasn't looking back. Final lesson. Daniel learned something few people ever do. Poverty doesn't just steal money. It steals confidence. Time. Trust. But it doesn't get the final say. The world will ignore you. Until it can't. Not because you shouted. But because you became undeniable. And if you're listening to this right now, feeling invisible, underestimated, forgotten, remember this. Your beginning does not define your ending. Your silence today might just be the foundation of a future no one sees coming. Keep building. Even when no one is watching.